In this week's videos, we are going to look at court documents, what they are, where to find them. We're also going to look at a court docket.
We've looked at judicial opinions and court rules, but there are a number of other documents created by the court system, both by parties and the courts themselves. We're going to take a look at them now. So why are we looking for court documents? Well, the first reason is because most cases don't result in a judicial opinion. And also, most judicial opinions do not resolve litigation. So if you want to find out what actually happened at the end of a dispute, you will need to find some other court documents. Also, much like with secondary sources, you are not the first person to wrestle with legal issues, and finding exemplars of motions and briefs can really help you understand the issues and then drafting your own documents. Also, they're useful for research purposes. They can help you locate relevant authority, and this is especially true if you have bad facts or bad law. If you can't find judicial opinions on point that support your argument, maybe look at some case law that on its face is bad for you, but see what the briefing on the losing side was, and you can look at what cases they relied on and perhaps learn from their mistakes. You can also learn a lot about being a lawyer from court documents. You can see how other attorneys argue, and this can be useful when looking at opposing counsel or when being in the job market and looking to learn more about the people you're interviewing with. And lastly, looking at court documents is an essential part of business development. You want to see what issues different potential clients are facing. So let's take a look at the documents that are out there. I've organized them into two camps, those created by the parties to involved in a dispute and those created by the courts themselves. So first, we have pleadings. Those are the formal statement of an action or a defense, and generally come in the form of a complaint or an answer. There are variations on those, replies and amendments, but the complaint and the answer are the main ones you're going to see. Next is motions. And now a motion, you're all familiar with the term, but what it literally means is a party asking for the court to take an action. Motions happen all the time. Now, oftentimes they'll be accompanied by a memorandum explaining the law about why you're requesting the motion. And sometimes this memorandum is included in the text of the motion, but sometimes it's an additional document to support the motion. So just keep your eye out for both for the discussion of the law in both of those places. Then we have petitions and briefs. Those are generally associated with appellate courts. Petitions are when you are asking the courts to give the party an order. And the most common of that is a petition for appeal. And a brief is any thorough discussion or advocacy on the law. Sometimes when people will refer to briefs or briefing, they're going to be talking about those memorandums in support of motions, and other times they're going to be referring specifically to appellate briefs. It can mean both things, but they are generally, in terms of advocacy, the most complex, thorough consideration of the law. And you'll have all experienced this in working on your own. And then parties create a lot of supporting documents in the course of litigation. Oftentimes they're attached to the other forms of documents. So things like affidavits, exhibits, various memoranda, those could be attached to a motion, a pleading, a petition, or a brief. And so you'll see those in the same places that you see these other documents. Now from the courts themselves, they create documents in overseeing these cases. And so the first is an order. An order is anytime the court is directing a party, either a party to litigation or a third party, to do something, anything. Now, the next on the list is judgments. Judgments are important because they are only the final determination of someone's rights. Now, cases will occasionally have multiple judgments, but each one will be a final determination on a specific issue related to someone's rights or property. More common than judgments are rulings. And a ruling is just any time the court makes a decision. Related to a ruling is a finding and recommendation, sometimes abbreviated as FNRs. These occur in the federal courts. For a lot of issues, the courts will delegate to a magistrate judge to oversee issues like managing discovery and some motions. But there are certain issues that a magistrate judge is not authorized to rule on. But instead, what they'll do is review it and then issue a finding and recommendation. Those FNRs are often adopted by the court itself. So they're related concepts. Far less common than rulings are opinions. Now, an opinion from a court is any time that the judge has taken it to writing a written document explaining the facts and law to support a ruling. And it can be any kind of ruling that the judge thinks is important enough to support with an opinion. As I've mentioned, opinions are very rare. Most times rulings will be either from the bench or taken care of very quickly, but sometimes the court will issue the longer, more considered opinion, and that's what we consider precedential, and we've already spent so much time looking at those, we can move on. The last thing is verdicts, of course, and verdicts come from juries. So you're looking for those documents associated with jury trials, and generally will be a determination of fact. So those are the various documents that you'll be looking for in your research, and you'll of course be producing many of them in the course of your career. In our next video, we're going to take a look at the various ways to locate these court documents on the legal research platforms.